Fighters of the Timur Special Unit of the Main Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine did not allow the Russians to advance in the Sumy direction. During the special operation, intelligence officers managed to enter the enemy's rear, clear the occupiers' positions and consolidate their gains. It is noted that the advance of the Russian invaders was stopped, and the supply of provisions and ammunition for the enemy group of troops was disrupted. According to radio intercepts, soldiers of the Russian army, justifying themselves with far-fetched reasons, refused to storm positions in the area of responsibility of the Timur Special Unit. The video shows key fragments of the mission of Ukrainian intelligence officers, rapid raids in the enemy's rear, accurate work of artillerymen and grenade launchers, elimination of occupiers by drops and accurate hits of FPV drones, footage of close-range small arms combat. It is also reported that the operation was carried out by the forces of the units Chimera, Yunger, Stugna, Siberian Battalion, Aratta, 1514, Paragon, Art Division, 1st Line, Raven Group and 6th Special Action Detachment, which are part of the Timur Special Unit of the Main Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. Thanks to the coordinated actions of the intelligence forces, the enemy attack in the north was stopped, and their attempt to launch a new offensive was thwarted. The armed struggle continues. Glory to Ukraine. The HUR added. Although the Sumy direction accounted for 11% of all assault actions, Russian forces failed to occupy a single square kilometer last month, Deep State writes. This axis proved to be one of the most effective in terms of defense, as the enemy had to attack more frequently without achieving any results.
Начинаем! Буcha! Підори! Жить хочете! Стоп, ОПВ, сидимо! Взяв? Нихуя себе! Уходим!
Russia is massively confiscating apartments from former residents in the occupied territories and handing them over to Russians, while Kremlin-linked construction companies are profiting from the reconstruction of housing destroyed by the Russian invasion, writes the Wall Street Journal. In the occupied territory, the Russian-backed authorities have declared thousands of apartments abandoned, as a result of which the Ukrainians who fled faced obstacles in returning, confirming their ownership or receiving compensation. At the same time, those who arrived from Russia enjoy a number of benefits, such as a 2% mortgage rate on new homes, the publication writes. The article notes that the strategy of replacing people who once lived in captured territories with ethnic Russians is a strategy that Moscow has implemented many times, and captured Mariupol was no exception. Mass displacement and destruction opened up the real estate market. While workers cleared the rubble, realtors bought up properties from fleeing residents on the cheap. One of the new arrivals, a Russian woman from Siberia, said she had bought an apartment in the city that only needed minor repairs and intended to spend her retirement there, fulfilling her husband's dream of living by the sea. For now, she said she would rent it to a tenant, a Muscovite who now lives and works in Mariupol. Alexander Nosachenko, a former resident of Mariupol, said that a Russian soldier had occupied his seaside dacha on the outskirts of the city. Being of draft age, Nosachenko could not return to Mariupol himself to receive compensation, and his wife, who had survived the Russian blockade of the city, refused on principle to return there. The house with a clock, once a monument to Mariupol's unique heritage, now serves as a monument to Russia's transformation of the city. In the general plan for the reconstruction of Mariupol, the house with a clock was marked for restoration. However, in 2022, the house was demolished to make way for a building with a completely different layout. However, the former residents expected to be able to get apartments in the new building. The 2022 decree gave them the right to resettlement to the site of the old building. However, after construction began, they were informed that the law had changed. Residents no longer have the right to resettlement to the site of their old houses, but have the right to resettlement anywhere in the city. Mariupol resident Elena Pudak told the Wall Street Journal that her mother was trying to return to the city to get compensation for her apartment in the clock house. She was denied entry at Russia's Sheremetyevo airport without explanation, but Pudak suspects that authorities are trying to keep out people with property claims.
The 24th Separate Mechanized Brigade, named after King Daniel, showed some of the Russian paratroopers who surrendered near Chasiv Yar. The brigade emphasized that the prisoners are not in any danger. One of the groups of fighters from the 98th Airborne Division of the Russian Federation, who were going to storm Chasiv Yar, realized that their commanders had sent them to be slaughtered and surrendered to Ukrainian captivity. The brigade noted, the brigade emphasized that the prisoners are treated in accordance with international law. They are fed, given water, allowed to smoke and rest, without beatings, torture, or humiliation, the brigade emphasized. They also note that captivity is the only chance for a Russian attack aircraft to survive and return home. The brigade showed photos of prisoners. Many of the prisoners have numerous tattoos, which are usually done by people in Russian prisons. The captured soldiers themselves admitted they were exhausted, demoralized, and had no understanding of what they were fighting for. Ukrainian forces also addressed the families of the Russian military. Your loved ones have preserved their lives. They are being held in proper conditions, receiving food and medical care. Tell your fellow citizens, Ukraine is not a place for reforming Russians. No one is re-educated here. They are eliminated, and the only chance for those already at war is to surrender to Ukrainian captivity in order to stay alive and return home. Earlier, Ukrainian forces captured 2 Russians on the Pokrovsk front. Both enemy soldiers were residents of the Tomsk region. Shortly before that, Ukrainian Special Operations Forces captured several dozen Russian Marines in the Kursk region. Particularly, the troops from Russia's 810th Marine Brigade were taken prisoner on the very day Russia was celebrating Marine Corps Day. Recall, Russia said it had captured the town of Chasiv Yar in eastern Ukraine after nearly 16 months of fighting, opening the way for potential further advances. Russia's defense ministry said in a brief statement its forces had liberated the town. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski dismissed the claim as disinformation. A Ukrainian military spokesperson called it propaganda. But a video posted by a Russian military unit showed a Russian paratroop banner and the national flag being raised by soldiers in the desolate ruins of the town.